Hi, my name is Suliado Galende, and I have been thinking through what's next in my career journey. And I think on one of the platforms I'm on, I saw your 5-day challenge, and I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. Sometimes you feel like you know how to maybe search for a job, or you kind of have a clear idea of what you want to do. But I think it's always very, helpful for you to kind of maybe see what other people are doing, see if you can learn from others that are already in the industry, and maybe even just get a sense of how can you do whatever it is you're doing even better. So that was one of the reasons why I said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I was a bit nervous, if I'm being honest, just because
Really?
I was. One, because I've never been part of a challenge, and then and then I also said, well, I'm already in tech, so
Yeah,
would this even be
okay.
relevant to me? So I feel like I kind of went in there thinking, I don't know if this is really going to add value, but I was pleasantly surprised. So my current role is like a compliance role, is like financial compliance for a fintech company. My background, however, was like as a software tester, and I kind of grew within, I would call like a software development into like requirements management. I think at one point I even did like system administrator, and then I moved into project management, and then I actually moved into delivery services. So that's where you're responsible for a group of people who manage different projects for clients. So my current role, however, is in financial compliance, and it was very interesting. I kind of stumbled upon it. So I think for me, one of the things I was like, okay, what's next in my career journey? How do I marry my previous experience with what I'm doing now? And if I'm being honest, I think 2024, 2025, I mean, we've all been seeing lots of layoffs. I mean, for the U.S. Government to be laying off tons and tons of individuals, it makes you want to kind of just sit up and say, one, how can I be improving my skills? If I do find myself in this kind of situation, how do I actually also make sure that I am on top of my game in terms of what it is to job search? I think we've all heard about companies using different kind of tools and artificial intelligence bots to actually screen CVs. So for me it was, okay, how do I kind of make sure maybe I don't put myself in a position where I'm always looking for a job? Like, could I it's true, right? Like, continue learning, and how do I also make sure like my LinkedIn profile actually showcases what I'm doing, so maybe recruiters will be reaching out to me. So that's what I was hoping to gain from the class, and I definitely did that.
Brilliant.
So day one,
let's
I would
unpack.
say, for me personally, it was a bit of a challenge. And it was a bit of a challenge not because the class wasn't set up properly, because I felt like that was where I really needed to dig deep, right? Day one was about like, okay, what skills do you actually have? Actually write it down. And then how do you now take those skills that you have and try to find possible roles that you can actually potentially do, and maybe do an audit of yourself to say, okay, you know what, maybe I have been in project management, or I have been in financial compliance. What else could I do? And then maybe, okay, if I have now identified something, and just for the sake of this conversation, maybe it's cybersecurity. How do I now determine what I am lacking so that I can then figure out how to grow in those skills? I think for me it was having that honest conversation with yourself, like even asking like, what do I actually know? What am I really
Exactly. Yeah.
And being honest with yourself, saying, okay, I think I can get there, but what am I lacking now, and how do I figure out how to get those skills?
Yeah.